Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg has admitted that he bowed to pressure and removed COVID misinformation from his platform at the urging of the White House. The question is, was it misinformation? This news comes as courts are trying to prohibit the Biden administration from communicating with social media companies.
Government pressure to meddle in expression is obviously dangerous, but there's an equal threat to free press, information, and expression exercised by today's media and distribution empires. Every large media platform are agents with their own political agendas, and they have dominant influence shaping free expression in today's media landscape.
You know, Farron, when I first saw this story, I actually was really pleased that the court said to the White House, hell no, you may not get involved in editing propaganda for the American public. I mean, this is America, 2023. We still have a damn Constitution. Still is a First Amendment. And you got the White House saying, we want to decide what is misinformation. We want to be the gatekeeper for what the American public can hear. It is absolutely BS.
I'd be a little skeptical at that characterization. It's weird Facebook is supposedly the victim here, yet they were forced to provide emails to the Republican congressional committees. And these Republicans are using the information to gag the White House. Facebook is the injured party, not the GOP. Facebook has ample legal resources to fight the federal government whenever they choose. If they really had a problem with interference with freedom of expression, they would have just taken this to court themselves.
And in the Fifth Circuit, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that they even put this on hold at all.
Yeah, they put in the injunction saying, well, for now, you can still talk to them. The lower courts, of course, had said, no, you cannot. You do not get to talk to them.
And what threat was made by the federal government? An official lost his temper, and Biden criticized the platform for disseminating disinformation. Where was the infringement on the first? Where did they go beyond simple criticism? I don't see it. The public and private pressure appears to have yielded results. Weeks after Biden's comments on August 2nd, 2021, Facebook leadership asked employees to, quote, brainstorm some additional policy levers we can pull to be more aggressive against misinformation. This is stemming from the continued criticism of our approach from the Biden administration. I want to remark here that Facebook staff themselves classify the content their platform is spreading as misinformation. Last I remember, the federal government does have just a little responsibility to protect life and limb, especially from corporate actors. I think I remember, in other contexts, somebody like Mike making a point in this area. Misinformation on vaccines and treatments has gotten people sick or killed, just like misinformation on cigarettes and asbestos, I'd say like in baby powder, has gotten people sick or killed. Just as X spreading hate against trans kids, journalists, and climatologists has driven them away and led to real threats to all of them. Just as Truth Social users doxing grand jurists who indicted Trump is endangering jurists' lives. Or Fox lying about Dominion and Smartmatic and the 2020 election results. And just as hate spread by a moderation-free Facebook in Burma led to a genocide, lies spread by corporations for profit have brought harm to people down the ages. Conspiracy regarding corona's origins does nothing to actually find proof one way or another about the accusations. Social networks don't do genetic sequencing that establishes whether a deadly virus is the product of human tinkering or natural in origin. They don't do epidemiological research on the virus's spread. They don't seek wild animal reservoirs. Science does. Theories and assertions spread on social media are simply talk, but talk that can lead people to harm others or suffer harm themselves. So far, all I've seen is that there's been public and private pressure by the Biden administration to have Meta put a lid on the spread of misinformation, which is factually known to bring people to harm. It isn't quite comparable to a sheriff's department raiding a local newspaper, taking all of their data and having the owner / publisher die of a heart attack from the stress. I think there's a qualitative difference in government action in this particular case.
Did you took a civics class in school, didn't you?
Of course,
You were in a generation where they taught civics. You understood the importance of the First Amendment, that we have a Constitution that says freedom of speech above all things is critically important. You were raised with that.
Today's media landscape is nothing like the small press available at the time of the Constitution's writing, nor is it anything like the media outlets when I, Pompantonio, or cousins took civics courses. Today's online platforms have replaced print and airwave, and they are given property rights to pick and choose whom they carry or what content to promote in order to pursue their interests. This is the function of their algorithms and terms of service. They choose what content to promote for their profit. The distribution empires of Meta, YouTube, X, the cable networks, and Sinclair Broadcast Group, and the consolidated content empires like Fox, CNN, or Disney are controlled by a few dozen men who dictate who and what is given a voice, what can be said, what cannot be said, and what must be said. Fox may hog all the limelight, but radical content providers like Breitbart, Daily Wire, PragerU, TPUSA, and you name it, were all funded by conservative billionaires, and each convey a remarkably consistent political and cultural agenda, and they are highly visible through these distribution empires. What is the answer here to a government duty-bound to protect life and liberty, but which also presents an eternal threat of an abuse of the power given to it to protect all of us, versus platforms with nearly totalitarian license to do as they please? Where's the answer in this? Well, other than applying antitrust or moving to platforms which aren't proprietary for profit empires. The situation here is not clear-cut. Government silencing a free press or freedom of expression is wrong, but so is a situation where a company can spread lies for years for their own profit without consequences. See Dominion versus Fox. I stress here that content spreads on Facebook or YouTube or X by algorithm. Content is selected by their algorithms and published into their users' timelines. The platforms make these editorial choices for their profit. With Section 230, social media platforms have carte blanche to spread misinformation, abuse, hate, and conspiracy content their AI selects and promotes to the users for their profit. Tell me how this is free speech and not an indoctrination silo. I think people have an understanding that there are agents, content creators that have a political agenda. Well, Everybody does to one degree or another. But how many appreciate or have visibility into the amount of money going into it, or the level of financial and political interest the platform itself might have in promoting a particular kind of content? Facebook, X, and Google have near monopoly power on information because of the network effects of their proprietary platforms. People are siloed into them by their very size. And because of that size, these platforms exercise totalitarian levels of control over what content people see or which issues frame their lives. These platforms have a demonstrated track record of suppressing freedom of information themselves. Facebook banned disinformation researchers in 2021, and Musk is currently suing disinformation researchers, complaining they are driving away advertisers. Both Meta and X reject sunshine into the content circulating on their platforms, circulation that occurs because of their algorithms. Neither X nor Meta have stellar records of moderation. Further, they have been openly dismantling theirs. Musk ripped apart Twitter's moderation rather publicly and is actively promoting extremism and persecution of those the right-wing targets. Microsoft, Facebook, and Google all have gutted their moderation staff. I too had civics courses, and I remember in them that violent, harmful, or defamatory speech was not protected by law. And I also remember that a vibrant market of publishers was supposed to safeguard the access to multiple views, more or less. And abuse of freedom of expression is supposed to be actionable through a defamation case, although that bar is generally very high. Depending on the state, it can either be subject to criminal or civil trial. But with Section 230, it doesn't really exist, does it? Again, I reference the Fox and Dominion civil lawsuit, but let's remember that marginalized groups really have no protection whatsoever. As much as government censorship is a real danger, social media and media giants are another real danger. Their reach is dominant, and their liberties to constrain the speech of others are granted by their own property rights. They exercise censorious, totalitarian, and propagandistic control of expression in the U.S. and much of the world.